Body cam recording. Timestamp 2:14 a.m. Recovered footage. Begins. The video begins with a burst of static before resolving into a grainy green-tinted view of a desolate urban landscape. The faint crunch of boots on shattered glass and rubble mingles with the shallow, controlled breathing of the squad, moving methodically through the chaos. The camera pans to show overturned cars and shattered windows, a testament to the devastation that came before. A faint breeze stirs the bloodied remains of a torn American flag snagged on a rusted street lamp. Team Echo, moving to Grid Alpha, a steady voice announces, clipped and professional. Mission protocol is a go. The squad moves in precise formation, weapons raised, scanning the terrain with practiced vigilance. Every frame of the video hums with the quiet whispers of decay. Rusted vehicles streaked with dried blood, deep claw marks gouged into brick walls, and the eerie silence of a city long since abandoned. It feels less like a battlefield and more like the aftermath of a massacre. "Where's everyone?" Sanders asks, his voice low but audible. His hand tightens on the grip of his rifle, and the camera lingers on him for a moment before shifting focus. "Stay focused. No chatter," the captain orders, calm but firm. As the squad advances deeper into the city, the signs of violence grow worse. Blood smears paint long, erratic streaks across the walls and pavement, while bullet casings and shattered weapons litter the ground. Vehicles riddled with bullet holes and shattered glass stand as hollow sentinels, yet there are no bodies, just an unsettling absence. Drag marks become visible in the dirt, long grooves suggesting something heavy had been pulled into a shadowy alley. The squad pauses, their rifles trained on the alley's yawning darkness. The oppressive silence seems to magnify the weight of the shadows, which almost seem to breathe. "Echo 3, advance and clear," the captain orders. Sanders hesitates, the camera catching his shallow breathing before he steps forward. His flashlight cuts through the gloom, illuminating piles of trash and shards of broken glass. "Nothing but trash," he mutters, stepping further in. He vanishes into the dark, and then the scream. The sound tears through the silence, raw and unnatural, not of pain, but something worse. Terror. It's the sound of a mind struggling to process the incomprehensible. "Sanders, report," the captain barks, his voice sharp and immediate. There's no reply. The shadows have swallowed Sanders whole. At 2:27 a.m., the camera captures movement, a blur, impossibly fast, darting across the frame before disappearing into cover. The squad freezes, rifles sweeping in all directions, as the atmosphere thickens with primal fear. "There!" someone shouts. The camera whirls just in time to catch it perched on a broken lamppost, watching them. The creature is humanoid, but only barely. Its sickly pale skin stretches tightly over a skeletal frame, glistening as if wet. Limbs too long and bent unnaturally give it a nightmarish silhouette. Its crimson eyes glow in the darkness, unblinking, fixed on the squad like a predator sizing up prey. "Open fire." Gunfire erupts, muzzle flashes illuminating the night in staccato bursts. The creature leaps from the lamppost, vanishing into the shadows. Another blur streaks across the frame, and Parker collapses, blood spraying from the gaping wound where his throat used to be. "Tight formation," the captain commands as the squad pulls back toward the ruins of an old police station. The creatures seem to herd them, shadows darting at the edges of their vision, closing the net with a predator's precision. At 2:34 a.m., the squad reaches the police station. barricading the front doors with debris. The building is a wreck, its lobby littered with overturned furniture and streaks of dried blood. "We regroup here," the captain says, voice taut. "Check ammo. Lock this place down." The monsters don't give them the chance. The first impact shakes the barricade, followed by more, their guttural shrieks reverberating through the building. The camera captures one of them, forcing its way through a broken window, its body contorting unnaturally. A soldier fires point blank, black ichor spraying from its chest. But the creature doesn't stop. Its wounds knit together as it lunges, tearing into him. "Fall back," the captain orders. The footage descends into chaos as the squad retreats deeper into the building. The creatures swarm from all directions, crawling along walls and ceilings with impossible speed. One grabs a soldier, its claws raking through body armor. The camera captures the sickening crunch of a rifle butt smashing into the creature's jaw, but it doesn't even flinch. Its glowing eyes lock onto its prey before it lunges again. Gunfire rings out, but it only slows the monsters. By 2:39 a.m., the squad is cornered. Rifles click empty as the creatures close in. The camera captures one final haunting image, a monster crouched in the doorway, its mouth splitting into a jagged grin, blood dripping from its fangs. The screen dissolves into static. Body cam recording. Timestamp 2:45 a.m. Recovered footage continues. The footage jolts back into clarity with a jarring thud. The camera captures the trembling beam of a flashlight cutting through the shadows of the police station's second floor. The squad is splintered, their numbers scattered among the maze of blood-stained offices and hallways strewn with debris. The captain's voice crackles faintly over the comms, strained but composed. "Echo, report status. Who's left?" A soldier's voice, tight with tension, responds. "3 of us, sir. Sanders is gone. Jacobs is gone. Parker's gone." The shakiness in the voice betrays the strain, but the figure on screen continues moving, rifle trained on the dark void ahead. After a long, waited pause, the captain replies, "Hold position. Regroup at stairwell Charlie. Keep silent. Keep moving." The camera pans downward, focusing on boots crunching over shattered glass. The sound reverberates like a gunshot in the suffocating quiet, every step a beacon for the unseen predators lurking in the dark. The soldier's breathing is shallow, labored, as if the very air is fighting against them. The atmosphere presses in, heavy and oppressive, the shadows growing thicker with each step. Ahead, a faint, wet noise rises, a slithering, scraping sound that claws at the nerves. The flashlight beam catches something on the ground, drag marks smeared in blood, trailing around a corner. The soldier freezes, muscles coiled with tension, and then it strikes. 2:49 a.m. The attack is so swift it almost escapes the camera's frame. A blur bursts from the shadows, limbs unnaturally long and spindly, propelling the creature like a spider on all fours. The camera jolts violently as the soldier fires, muzzle flashes lighting up the scene. The creature's grotesque form is illuminated briefly, sinewy muscle under taut, glistening skin, its jagged mouth stretched wide in a soundless scream. The rounds hit, chunks of flesh tearing away from its torso, but the creature doesn't slow. Its claws rake across the soldier's armor, sending them sprawling against a wall. The camera captures a fleeting glimpse of its glowing red eyes before it vanishes back into the shadows. "Contact!" the soldier yells, scrambling to their feet. But the chaos has already begun. Screams rip through the station, sharp and harrowing, echoing down the blood-stained corridors. The camera swings wildly, its beam dancing across the walls as the soldier sprints toward the source of the cries. They round a corner just in time to see a creature dragging another squad member, Jenkins, into a jagged hole in the wall. Blood streaks the floor, his screams abruptly cut off, leaving only an oppressive silence. At 2:53 a.m., the survivors regroup at the stairwell, their faces pale and streaked with grime. The captain's grip on his rifle is iron tight, his expression a mask of determination barely concealing the fear beneath. Beside him, Kowalski leans against the wall, his chest heaving as terror flickers in his wide eyes. "They're toying with us," Kowalski mutters, his voice hollow. "Like cats with mice." The captain doesn't acknowledge the comment. His jaw tightens as his gaze sweeps the dimly lit hall. "We're getting out of here," he states firmly. "Basement exit leads to the streets. We'll regroup with command." The camera lingers for a moment, capturing the unspoken doubt etched on the soldiers' faces. The hallway ahead feels like a trap, its silence loaded with malevolence. The descent into the basement is slow and cautious, the narrow stairwell creaking with every step. The sound echoes ominously, swallowed quickly by the dark void below. The stench greets them first, a putrid mix of blood and decay that seems to cling to the air, thick and suffocating. At 2:58 a.m., the basement is a nightmare rendered real. The flashlight beam pans across a grotesque nest of horrors. Bodies, or what remains of them, hang suspended in organic cocoons, their faces frozen in twisted expressions of terror. Blood pools thickly on the floor, glinting like a dark mirror in the dim light. "They're feeding," the captain whispers, his voice barely audible over the oppressive silence. At the far end of the room, movement catches the camera's eye. A creature crouches over a cocoon, skeletal fingers digging into the remains within. It doesn't acknowledge their presence, its grotesque focus fixed on its grisly feast. "Move slow. Stay quiet," the captain orders, his voice betraying a tremor. The survivors inch forward, every step measured. The creatures cling to the walls and ceiling, their pale bodies twitching as if in a restless slumber. Breathing is shallow, the smell and the tension nearly unbearable. Then Kowalski trips. At 3:02 a.m., the crash of his fall reverberates through the silence like a gunshot. One of the creatures snaps its head toward the group, its crimson eyes igniting with violent intent. The shriek that follows is inhuman, a guttural cry that shakes the very walls. "Run!" the captain roars. The footage blurs with frantic motion as the survivors sprint toward the exit. The creatures erupt into action, their movements a horrifying cacophony of claws on concrete and rending flesh. One leaps from the ceiling, dropping onto Kowalski and dragging him down. His screams echo long after the camera loses sight of him. The camera captures fleeting glimpses of the creatures in pursuit, blurred forms that seem to defy logic, their glowing eyes cutting through the darkness like beacons of death. The captain and the soldier burst through the exit, slamming the heavy door behind them. The sound of claws raking against the metal reverberates, a grim reminder of the creatures still in pursuit. At 3:06 a.m., outside, the empty streets greet them with a deceptive stillness. The camera swings wildly, capturing their ragged breaths and frantic glances. For a fleeting moment, the silence feels like salvation. Then the guttural growls start again, distant but growing closer. The scraping of claws on pavement follows, and the realization dawns like a cold blade. The creatures aren't confined to the building. They're everywhere. The footage shows the two figures running into the night, the camera capturing dozens of glowing eyes converging on their position. Body cam recording. Timestamp 3:08 a.m. Recovered footage continues. The footage resumes in the midst of chaos. The camera jerks violently with every pounding step on broken pavement. Labored breathing, the hiss of radio static, and the guttural growls of the creatures close in from every direction. Night vision flickers, capturing fleeting glimpses of them, blurred shapes darting between ruined cars and shattered alleyways, circling their prey like wolves. "Move! Don't stop!" the captain shouts, his voice hoarse with desperation. The soldier on camera runs, rifle gripped tightly, lungs burning. The world becomes a tunnel of survival, every shadow alive with threat. The creatures aren't just chasing them, they're herding them, funneling them toward a trap. Up ahead, the captain skids to a halt. The camera swings to reveal the obstacle, a barricade of collapsed buildings choking the street, an impassable wall of wreckage. "We're trapped," he whispers, the weight of the statement palpable. The captain turns, his face a mask of grim determination. "We make our stand here." At 3:12 a.m., the squad takes cover behind the charred remains of a burned-out bus, preparing for the inevitable. Shaking hands fumble with magazines, bloodied fingers struggling to load bullets as the camera captures the tension. 2 mags left, nowhere near enough. The growls grow louder, closer, echoing in the stillness like a predator's symphony. They're waiting, relishing the fear. Then the first one attacks. It bursts from the shadows, leaping onto the hood of the bus. The camera captures the creature in full, skeletal and sinewy, its limbs elongated and tipped with claws sharp as scythes. Its jagged teeth glisten with black ichor as it lets out a guttural snarl. Gunfire erupts, and bullets tear into its chest. The creature doesn't falter. It leaps again, landing just feet from the soldier on camera, its glowing red eyes locking on its prey. A final burst of bullets from the captain sends it sprawling, black ichor spilling onto the pavement. "They're coming!" the captain yells as the onslaught begins. The creatures emerge in waves, faster than the eye can track. The camera captures brief, chaotic glimpses, a pale form scaling a building, another crawling across the ground like an insect. Gunfire lights up the night, illuminating the carnage in strobe-like flashes. One of the creatures grabs a soldier's leg, its claws punching through armor. The camera shakes violently as they scream, kicking desperately. The captain's rifle dispatches the creature, but the damage is done. Blood pours from the wound, leaving the soldier barely able to stand. "There's too many," the soldier shouts, his voice cracking with panic. The captain fights on, his rifle clicking empty before he draws his knife. He slashes at one creature, but another tackles him from behind, dragging him to the ground. The camera catches his final moments, his defiant struggle, the blood spraying as claws and teeth overwhelm him. His screams fade into the cacophony of the attack. At 3:20 a.m., the soldier on camera is alone now. Blood and pain blur the footage as they limp away, leaving the captain's mutilated body behind. The growls and shrieks never fade, constant reminders of the predators closing in. The soldier stumbles into an alley, collapsing against a wall. The camera records his ragged breaths, the pool of blood spreading beneath him. He's out of ammo. The knife is gone. There's nothing left. Then a new sound cuts through the growls, a low, guttural laugh. The camera pans upward, catching the source. Dozens of creatures perch on the rooftops and cling to the walls. their glowing red eyes fixed on the lone survivor. They don't attack immediately. They're savoring the moment. The soldier forces himself to his feet, leaning heavily on the wall. The camera shakes as he takes one faltering step after another. The laughter grows louder, joined by the scraping of claws on stone. The creatures move in. At 3:24 a.m., the final moments unfold in brutal detail. One creature lunges from the shadows, its claws raking across the soldier's chest, sending him sprawling. The camera shakes violently as the others descend. Claws tear through flesh, teeth gnash against bone. The last image the camera records is the soldier's face, twisted in agony before the feed tilts upward, capturing the swarm of monsters feeding. Their laughter fades, replaced by the sickening sounds of tearing flesh and splattering blood. The screen cuts to static. Post-operation report. A cold, clinical voice reads from a transcript. Recovered footage confirms total loss of Team Echo. Hostile entities exhibit advanced predatory behavior, regenerative capabilities, and high levels of intelligence. Urban Zone declared a Level 5 containment breach. Full quarantine protocols initiated. Recommend termination of further recovery operations in the area. The screen fades to black, leaving only the faint, haunting sound of guttural laughter lingering in the distance.